I've had this stuff.
Hello, Susan. Oh, I was glad to see you. That's okay. That's it.
Holly, were you turning the mics on? You trying to avoid all the cameras? Got more cameras than those you had on.
I got little legs, okay? I got little legs.
Shortest distance.
Between 2 points and straight on it.
Is there a check?
I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees regular meeting here on Tuesday, January 21st, 2025 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Yes, here.
Ms. McKee, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Please, if you stand with me. And bow our heads. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us the trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptations, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Oh, so moved.
I'll second. Discussion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to add 2 items under new business. First is lighting districts, and the second is township inventory.
I'll second that. Any discussion on the amendment? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And let's add those under item I will be lighting district. And item J will be inventory. Any further discussion on the amended agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
agenda is adopted as amended. Is there a motion to adopt the December 17th, 2024 regular meeting minutes?
Yes, so moved.
I'll second. Discussion.
Are these the one, there's been a flurry of email corrections on minutes. Is this one of them? This is within the last 20 minutes?
Yes.
Well, that doesn't provide proper time for review, so I'd say I'd move to table it until we can review.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Those are tabled. I'll move to adopt the December 30th, 2024 special meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, could you say that again? I'm sorry.
I'll move to adopt the December 30th, 2024 special meeting minutes. Is there a second?
So moved, yeah.
Okay, discussion.
Is this also within those recently corrected?
Some of these were minor. What do we have on that, Holly?
On the 17th.
Yes, or the 30th. We're
30th.
discussing the 30th.
There was a space that was needed and agreements needed to be changed to agreement.
Just words?
Yep.
Yeah, those were sent out, so any further discussion or questions on those?
No.
I just say that we can't be changing them in the corrections right before the meeting, and they should be entered into the diligence system so we don't have 6 different emails, so we don't know what's being referred to as what. Everything should be in the system.
I would concur, Mr. Evans, but we're still trying, these are minor changes, and we're trying to catch up on these so that we can get these done, so.
But it's important that they're correct.
Yes, I understand, Mr. Evans. So roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
those minutes are approved. I'll move to adopt the January 7th, 2025 organizational meeting minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And again,
Discussion.
I know this is part of, I think, a couple email with changes 20 minutes before the meeting. I'll move to table because, again, these should be properly.
Did you have any
reviewed.
changes on these, Mr. Evans?
I did.
And what are those at this time, please?
And especially the organizational one, what was sent was not correct. The motions, the amended motions weren't properly stated, and other issues with that. So again, the thing is being correct, not just approved. As the, February 20th, 2024s also show. So.
Well, Mr. Evans, I've seen that, I guess your corrections or disagreements, and I fully disagree. I reviewed those minutes for the 7th, and I disagree that those, the motions are correct. It's the way Diligent puts them in there. There was the main motion and an amendment to the amendment. And so I disagree with that, but I'll second the table, so any further?
So we're going to table it for, just for the typos and the, is that what you're asking?
I want to make sure that everybody has a chance, so at our next meeting in February, we'll have both the 17th and the 7th.
Okay.
But if you have any changes in, and apparently they've already been submitted, so let's get all the changes by the end of this week, and let's get these minutes caught up. Plus, we're going to have the regular minutes from the January 7th, the regular meeting minutes from the January 7th, 2025 as well. So let's get these all approved at the next meeting, so
Okay.
we can get these posted on the website.
So you're saying all approved. Now, you mentioned the 17th to table that.
Well, that's table 2, but I'm saying
Right.
when we go
Okay.
back on the 7th,
Sure.
make sure we get all of our corrections into our administrative assistant and make sure we have those ready for the meeting. So roll call to table.
January 7th, you want
Yes.
to table that one
Yes.
in particular, okay?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, at this time, we have public comments. You have 3 minutes. Please come to the lectern there and state your name and address, and you have the floor, sir.
Make sure this is on. Good evening, my name is Scott Rabchak. I am with Hannah Commercial Real Estate Services, and I am here on behalf of my client, Dr. Josh Halper. We have been hired by Dr. Josh to help him with the sale of his real estate and his business, known generally as Hillview Veterinary Clinic and Bed and Biscuit Boarding and Grooming Business, located at 14277 National Road Southwest. As you're all aware, we've been hired and have been working on the sale of this property for quite some time. We have a buyer in place, and we've been trying to wrap up the sale, but for one critical item: a confirmation of a permitted use and approval of zoning confirmation from this body, which was actually granted back in 1996. In 1996, Dr. Halper came before this body and Lincoln County to add on to his existing veterinary practice and build a new building that would be used for kennel, boarding, and dog grooming activities. At that time, Dr. Halper was directed by this body to change the zoning of this site to PRO, Professional Research Office District. To account for these uses, which he did, Dr. Halper was granted approval to build and then ultimately would receive his occupancy permits approved by Lincoln County in 1998. You've all been provided with those documents.
Yes.
Starting in October of 2024, I reached out and corresponded or spoke with all of you in some way, shape, or form about the documents that were provided and started the zoning process or discussion with the zoning department. You've all said that you would help and be more than happy to help in any way that you could to try to move this process along for Mr. Halper, and here we are months later without resolution. The most distressing part of this effort has been the lack of direction to help a business owner that's been a staple in this community for decades, as he has helped thousands of families enjoy the benefits of pet and animal ownership through health, wellness, and support services. We've been told that the township has no archives on this site, or possibly hundreds of other sites in Etna Township. They may have been destroyed, gone missing, or cannot be found anywhere in paper, hard copy, or digital form. We are here looking for help to get this situation resolved. You all know what we need. The site's been approved for its existing use. That is clear by the decades of use on this site. Exactly how it was approved by Licking County through occupancy permit and ultimately through occupancy. We don't need to go backwards and rehash what can't be found, what can't be done, or what we don't seem to have the authority to do. We tried to be transparent and patient. We're kind of beyond that. Your fiduciary responsibility is to the taxpayers and businesses of this township. You need to provide Mr. Halper with, at a minimum, what he deserves, and that is the time and attention of this body to complete the task we have been asking for. In conclusion, we know that you know what the next step is. We don't. We need your assistance in defining what that next step is. We appreciate your attention this evening and hope that we can bring this to a successful conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
John Hanson, Ridgewood Drive, Etna, Ohio. I think you had something about social media on the agenda. In the last few weeks, I ran an experiment on Facebook with rather predictable results. I put up etnasurvey.com. That alone is my survey, my opinion poll, no one else's. And using unrented space, which at no cost, the idea was to see how much censorship would be employed by the Evans team. They went bonkers. Predictably, before I even posted on Facebook, an Evans appointee, Jason Robinson, said I was just putting the survey up there to make Trustee Evans look bad. In Evans' world, to disagree with him or ask questions is to be wrong, evil, or to attack. Trustee Evans recently said, while calling everyone in the last meeting 28 times, if you analyze the transcript, liars, disingenuous, or you're not telling the truth. He further went on to say he is the only one in the township telling the truth. That is quite a remarkable statement. I know Mr. Evans, after spending $150,000 persecuting, settling, and suing my family, has a little bit of a grudge against me. The billboards attacks, once the mob kicked in, it was all predictable about wealthy people buying billboard ads. The class division component of every Evans campaign. Of course, this brand attack links me or anyone that disagrees with Trustee Evans' constant attacks on the other trustees and those on the Evans enemy list. Evans desperately needs someone to hate or a group to hate. He has no positive plans and feels the only way he can win is by tearing others down and position himself as the only alternative. The attacks on President Burkholder are baffling. You know, in psychology, the dehumanization is a psychological process by where opponents view each other as less than human. Liars, cheats, rich folks, etc. And thus not deserving of moral consideration. And this is what Evans and his followers need so they can do or say anything about the people they don't like, which includes Jackie, well, everybody else up there Mark is attacking.
30 seconds.
The class division is so aptly played out in the national elections now is brought to you by Trustee Evans. Mark, don't people deserve both sides of the debate, What are you afraid of? You have everything blocked on Facebook, the public group there, Etna Community, that you do not disagree with. Attacks on Facebook and defamation against anybody who does not support the fragile ego of Trustee Evans. Everyone knows about this.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next, please?
Ryan Davis, 8807 Watkins Road. Item D tonight is the Board of Zoning Appeals alternate position, and I just would like to re-express my desire to serve on that board if the majority of the board would choose to have me reappointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who's next?
Okay, my name is Philip Caldwell. I live at 138 Sycamore Creek Road Southwest. I've lived there since '92. I have a grocery store that moved in behind me where the old Crown Windows and Doors was located. I knew the gentleman that built that property. Well, now my quality of life, my property value, and a number of other things have gone down. I've been up to this township hall a number of times complaining, and nothing has been done. I'm done with the lights, the trash, the noise, my holidays. 24/7, this place is open. That place was never meant to be a grocery store, not on this scale. I have a semi truck coming in at night, runs all night long, refrigerated. My windows rattle. I just put new windows in there a couple years ago. I'm tired of the fighting in this township. I don't know how I missed all this nonsense that's been going on here. Nobody seems to want to work together. When somebody does voice their opinion, they're a no good whatever. You need to grow up. This place used to be a great place to live. I raised my girls. My granddaughters are on the same street as I am. I'm tired of waking up to the diesel fumes in my garage at 4 o'clock in the morning when I go to work. I've got a warehouse on the other side of my neighbors that was built, which should have never been built. Right there off Mink. The only nice thing that has happened lately is the fire trucks don't run down Mink Road constantly. I have not passed a levy in this township in a number of years because they don't serve us anymore, they serve these warehouses. Shame on you. All of you. Now, my property value, my life, they came in and they blacktopped it. Harv and I went back and gravelled and tiled all that. They crushed all the tiles. They didn't put no sewers in. I get heavy runoff. Their downspouts are not hooked into anything. I've got trash. Big trucks right on my property line. I only have a half acre there. My house is lit up like a Christmas tree at night. No matter even if I shut the doors. My wife is beginning to hate me because I'm getting pretty vindictive right now because nothing has been done.
30 seconds.
I expect you to look into this matter more before I start going to the county. I don't want to become a pain in your you-know-what. 33 years I've lived here. My wife doesn't want to move. I do. So you guys need to figure out what the differences are and take care of it. Politics and no politics. A number of my neighbors are getting old. They can't move. Plus there's modulars on my street. They can't sell them. I have a house.
Would you make sure, I know you've called in before.
Oh yeah, I've talked to you
Yep.
face to face, you and the other gentleman.
You
But you know what? I have history on a lot of you people in this township that I've got from people that work for this county, that work for Etna and Southwest.
Just make sure that the administrator has your name and address and your telephone number so we can contact you on that. I'm aware of that situation down there.
What do I have to
Why don't
do?
we have that already?
You're wanting me
I
to
have it.
film stuff, you're wanting me to write things down. I shouldn't be doing
I
your
just want
job.
to make sure, Mr. Evans, that the zoning inspector has it, so.
He does. This was closed without it being resolved. I've been trying to get this resolved over and over again. This is the same properties with the mosquitoes that you ignored.
Have you talked to the zoning inspector, Mr. Evans?
I have sent numerous times over and over about this issue, and even the Hillview, January is the first time I heard of it because I'm kept from all this information. I've been trying to get this stuff addressed and you guys won't.
No, let me explain. As far as the Hillview, sir, I might as well say it right now so you know ahead of time before we go on with the rest of the meeting. That Lance Schultz, our consultant, was working with our zoning inspector on that, and we've also had conversations with our township administrator. It was my understanding from Mr. Schultz that there was a possible solution to that we wanted to run by the administrator first. Unfortunately, Mr. Schultz is no longer with the township because Mr. Evans would not extend his contract, so.
That's utter bull. He worked on it for 2 months.
You're out of order.
And Miss McKee
You're
voted
out-
against
you're
it too
out
because
of- you're
you
out of-
refused to post his position
You're out,
for
Mr. Evans,
314 days, sir.
Mr. Evans.
This is on your shoulders.
Mr. Evans, we're not gonna continue to have you attack other
No, but
trustees
to ask
or
for
individuals.
his contact information
Mr.
shows
Evans,
the
Mr.
mismanagement.
Evans, so be happy to
I'm
meet with.
upset for them.
We'll be happy to meet with you after the meeting as well, and we can briefly discuss what we've already discussed with the administrator. One thing I do disagree with is we did do some research on that property and did find some additional information, so. Thank you, sir. Who's next, please?
I mean, this is affecting people's lives.
We understand that, Mr. Evans, but let me make a general statement. We need more staff to
No,
address these
we
issues.
had consultants, we had staff.
Well,
You
Mr.
mismanaged.
Evans? Yes, sir.
Sheet of paper, everybody wants it laying back there.
Okay.
I didn't know if you, I don't know how if you did it in order, you know. But I'd like to go next if I could, if that's okay. I was like third on the list, so. My name is Doug Parker, 440 Ballman Road, Hamilton, 43068.
I'm sorry, sir, can you repeat your name again there?
Yeah, Doug
Too
Parker,
much.
Parker, Doug, Doug. If I need to stand extra close to the microphone, I could do
No,
that.
there was just some background.
Yeah, there was
noise.
some
I
chatter
just-
out there, yeah.
I just couldn't hear you. So-
First thing I want to do is I'd like to give a big shout out to the road crew. And the reason I want to give a shout out to the road crew is that, Gary, I don't know if you ever rode with any of the crew, if you remember Smokey from over in Pickerington, but I went out and rode with the snowplow trucks when I was on city council in Pickerington. And it was the greatest experience in the world. And you haven't lived until you've hit a parking block with your snowplow and you about knocked the teeth out of your head. Let me tell you, it's a real eye opener. So shout out to those guys, plus the long hours they put in, plus the sleep that they miss and away from their families. So big kudos to those guys. I think they did an unbelievable job. Some people complained because they didn't get to the side streets that same day, but they got to them the very next day, and they got to all of them, I believe. So shout out to those guys over there. That's not why I came in here to talk. I came in here to talk about an access management plan. Is that part of the comprehensive plan, the access management plan? The access management plan is something that's sorely needed. And Gary, when you were in Pickerington, we know we had to put one in place for 256 over there.
I actually worked on that.
And so it needs to, and we're so far behind the 8 ball here out on 40, it's a joke. Because, you know, just down near where I live, and this is being self-serving, this isn't where I'm more concerned about. But when you take a look and add that old country road, you add an access to Blue Monkey, and then you've got the apartments right next door. Humphrey Drive lined up over here. You got a house over here that comes this way, opposite of Ballman coming out. And so, and it's like that up and down the whole road. So I don't know if we plan to have an access management plan committee. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to serve on that with my history. I'd be happy to do that, and I think I could be pretty serve very well. Okay. Last and final thing I want to say is that as I read things in the newspaper and secondhand, you know, and social media and that kind of stuff, I've always believed in transparency. And what I mean by transparency is discussing things in public in front of people. Most important thing to do. So if you guys like what you did tonight, I applaud very much so. Seconding the motions on the agenda, seconding the motions to the table stuff, and doing that kind of stuff. So let's try to do that as much as we possibly can, and without, being, too tough on each other. Let's try to work together here. I mean, there's 3 of us up here. You've been in office now for 3 years, I think now, haven't you, Ross?
That's right.
And Gary, you've got a full year under your belt, and then Gary, you've got 3 under your belt here. At this point in time, let's bury the hatchet. Let's start moving forward.
30
Seriously.
seconds.
I don't need that extra 30 seconds. I didn't want to talk this long. We got so many nice people in this crowd. They got way more important issues than me, the folks here with their zoning, et cetera, like that. But once again, I like movies and The Wizard of Oz. In The Wizard of Oz, he says, the problem with your pusillanimous behavior is what the wizard says to, I can't remember if it's a lion or it's a scarecrow, but the problem with the pusillanimous behavior is that pusillanimous means you're cowardly. And there's no sense in being cowardly in discussing anything in front of this public here, in my opinion. So give it the best that you possibly can. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you,
Thank
Doc.
you.
Appreciate it.
Who's next? Anyone
Doc,
else at this time?
can you get your information to the administrator so if we do decide to move forward with the access management plan, you said you would be glad to be a part of that? Okay,
I think I'd be good at it.
Thank you.
Are you the administrator?
I am.
Well, I haven't met you officially, but it's nice to meet you. And
Thank you very much.
I'll write it down on a piece of paper here with you.
Okay, that's
So-
great.
Susan Bedsole is our township administrator, and the access management plan actually is controlled by the county, and of course, that being the national road, we coordinate with others on that as well, but access management is obviously very important, so. Thanks, I appreciate the positive comments.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Stephen Paul, 76 Nantucket Avenue, Etna, Ohio. On January 7th, our last board meeting, I requested from you, Mr. Burkholder, the location of a missing server, a township server, worth thousands of dollars. I asked you, quote, for public records. I asked for a chain of command and custody of said server. I have not received any information on it. In addition, Mr. Burkholder, I requested public records on the location of the township property key box that was removed here. I asked for, quote, location and chain of command, chain of custody. I have not received anything. I also, subsequent to that, I requested inventory. I received that inventory last week. It did not, it did not include any of those items. Also, I noticed that we have computers running Windows 7. Now, the question is on that one, and I'm asking publicly, requests of information, are those computers running Windows 7 network, or they have access to the internet? Okay. I also wanted to know phone numbers that both you and Ms. McKee, which have taxpayers funded phones, who are the phone numbers you're calling? I haven't received any information on that. I don't want to receive the bill. I don't want to know, T-Mobile. I don't want to know the phone number. I want to know those should be public records. I want to know who you, Ms. McKee, you, Mr. Burkholder, and as far as I know, Mr. Evans does not have a publicly paid taxpayer phone. I want to know who you're calling. Are those phones being used for personal use? Who is calling? Last January 7th, we had the mayor of Reynoldsburg speak. He just popped up. He got on the agenda. He came in and gave a big whoop-de-doo speech. How did he get on the agenda? How did he get there? Were you in private contact using the phone, contacting him? I want to know what those numbers are that you're calling. And I want to know you, Ms. McKee, what are those actual phones?
K-E-E.
I am so sorry.
You're fine. I just have to correct you. on the
Time,
record.
your time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd be more than happy to answer about the server since Mr. Evans let me answer, Mr. Evans. Because you want to
I'd
let me
appreciate you
answer.
talk about the
You
key box.
you want to politicize. I'm not sure where the key box is locked up here for certain, Mr. Evans.
How do we not know? That's
So,
even
well,
scarier.
I don't know. You took over the
Isn't that a
maintenance of this
security
building.
risk?
It is.
Let me finish,
This is the
sir.
mismanagement I'm
The
talking
server, well, I know you have a political agenda here.
No.
The server
about. My
has,
agenda is the
the
residents.
server has been locked up in this building in a fireproof safe. And Mr. Evans, you insisted that we determine that location a year ago when we reorganized. And I found out where it was. It's in a fire safe. As far as the chain of custody, I don't know, because I wasn't here prior to January of 2020. Let me finish.
What's sitting over
2024. So that's old equipment that we're inventorying for
It
this
looks like
building.
a NVR server.
Let me finish. And Mr. Evans, you had consistently wanted to access that video on that server. And I repeatedly told you to come in at any time during normal business hours and you could review that video.
There's not a
And-
password provided,
and you-
so we
and
have to
you-
get a
well,
consultant to access it,
well-
and everybody knows that. But the key is, where's the keys?
I've answered the question.
No, you said you don't know. That's scary. That's mismanagement. That's a security issue. Time and time again on everything, public records requests need to be filled. They're not.
Well, Mr. Evans, you can, if there's a.
Mosquito
public record-
spraying wasn't done.
Okay, we're back to that.
Zoning.
We're back to that again. I see where anyone else that would like to speak at this time? You have 3 minutes. Okay, executive session, Ohio Revised Code 121.22G. Is there a motion?
I have no idea what this is about.
Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Well, I guess the,
It has to be a motion.
no, we're not gonna, I'm not making a motion, but I will motion to have a conversation in regards to the executive session after speaking with the prosecutor, and it sounds as if she's not comfortable with going in executive session with us because she was, I guess we would be recorded by Mr. Evans. So because of that, we would probably need to do a motion to have Mr. Burkholder approach the prosecutor with some things that we need to have her look over and review.
Well, if there's no motion to go to executive session, then if there's no motion, the item dies for no motion to go into
That's right.
executive session,
That's right.
so we'll move on.
And the only thing I'll say is, myself, the administrator, we didn't know what this was gonna be about. This is the circus that's going on here.
Well, Mr.
This is not
Evans-
how you operate a township.
Mr. Evans,
Keeping people in the blind, even our administrator.
Mr. Evans, I didn't know either.
Isn't that-
It was requested by Trustee McKee, and I did not have any conversations outside of the
That's
public
right,
meeting.
that's correct.
Because if I had, Mr. Evans, if I had even asked what it was regarding, you would have claimed it was an illegal meeting, as you do
No.
on
The
anything. So
proper thing to
anyway,
do is
Mr.
to
Evans,
inform the board.
it failed. So we're moving on.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
if you recall, there were actually 2 items under the executive session.
Right.
If there was whatever the pleasure of the board regarding the appointments and interviews or having them come up to the podium. So I just didn't want us to move past that item. And, I mean, I think you can come back to it when we get to that item on the agenda. I just didn't want that to be lost.
Well, I don't feel comfortable going into executive session since Mr. Evans said he would record executive
For my
sessions
safety.
without security cameras. So unfortunately, that is a tool that, because of Mr. Evans, we no longer have the
That's
luxury.
correct.
And on
We
the
will move
agenda, it
on.
should be listed separately.
We
need to be
understand that.
transparent
I
to the
understand
public.
that, Mr. Evans, and you can have the general statement, and when you go into executive session, you have to specify the specific reason.
It's not
Are
transparent to the
you a
public.
licensed attorney, Mr. Evans?
No, I have
Okay,
common
then.
sense.
Then quit acting like you are an attorney. You want to
No,
legally
these things have been
debate
discussed
everything.
with
We're now on
attorneys
to
in the
the
past.
administrator's reports. I'll recognize the township administrator for her report.
Yeah, I included all of the open seats that will be coming up in item, the next page, whatever that is.
Right.
And also just, I mean, it's been mentioned a couple times now, but I am again requesting, patience from everyone, given our lack of staffing at this current time. We are trying to catch up. We are trying to get those things that are a higher priority processed through the township. We're just going to be slower than normal, unfortunately.
Well, I would just like to make a comment on this with the Texas Senate Review Council. The administrator was told that it was only one position, only one each, when I say we, they don't know what's going on and giving conflicting and wrong information. I had the correct information. If I'm actually allowed to do things, we could handle a lot of stuff. And I disagree, and I've said this to our administrator, that we can handle quite a bit. It's been 3 years or 1 year, however you look at the composition of this board, and we can't even properly get inventory done. We can't even properly deal with anything. So it's, again, bad leadership, mismanagement. It's easy to fix and easy to do this stuff, but nothing's being addressed. Nothing.
Well, we did get inventory done last year. It was done properly, it was done on time, so just to make sure that's clarified.
Missing what?
This year was due the second Monday. It's incorrect, the draft, and we'll deal with that later. but-
I would like to reiterate what Mr. Parker said. It's about working together. Mr. Evans, you constantly, if there's something that needs to be done, why don't you get off your duff and do it instead of always criticizing the
I've
other
been
two
blocked
trustees?
time and time again.
You're not
and
blocked.
Even the last meeting,
it's called the
I
lack
have
of-
0 duties in this
It's
township.
called a lack of initiative.
No,
is
it
what
is
it's called.
not.
Yes, it is. So
Did
anyways,
I not
Mr. Evans?
propose streaming?
Point of order.
Did I not
Point of
propose
order, Mr.
streaming?
Evans.
Point of order. Let's go back.
Again?
Let's go back to the administrator's report. She's not done yet, Mr. Evans.
I've pretty much finished. And I do want to, I've debated this all week and I couldn't decide. People's personal lives are their personal lives. But unfortunately, not unfortunately.
Holly, can you get the mic so we can, thank you.
But at the end of the day, I am in the public sector, and what you choose to have be private doesn't always get to be your choice. So, I know there's been a lot of, I don't go out and read social media because quite frankly, there's very little truth. And so I do. Unfortunately, my husband does, and I keep telling him to stop telling me, but he still tells me when there's things about me on there. And I do know that several people are like, well, where's that township administrator? Is she just not doing her job anymore? So I'm going to be honest with all of you right now. In November, I was diagnosed with cancer. Should be obvious now that I have been battling it for the last couple months. I have another, I'm in between 2 phases, so my body's like, it feels much better right now, which is why I could come tonight. And when I can come, but don't think I'm not working. I talk with Trustee Burkholder every day, usually multiple times a day, just on things that are going on. I still answer emails. I still do work from home. I've switched from being in the office doing work to being at home doing work. I can't always work an 8-hour day, mostly because if I have treatment and I just get too tired. I just can't do it. Physically, I can't do it. So I have, starting Thursday, and again, you're just gonna get the information whether you want it or not. I have a 6-week chemo radiation treatment that at the end of that, I don't have anything wood, so I should be cured. But, you know, I'm just asking for your grace right now. And that's all I can do. So I wanted you to hear from me why it is that you don't see me at the township every day. And that's why. But it doesn't mean I am not working. I get those planner applications, whew, a lot. A lot of them. I work on them every single day to grid them. I mean, there are things that I can still do every single day. So I need you to hear from me that I'm still dedicated to the township. I might have lessened hours, but it hasn't changed my work ethic. So I just wanted to let everybody know that.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan.
I would like to ask that if you're talking to Mr. Burkholder daily, to try to some kind of way Mr. Burkholder communicate to the rest of the trustees, because you do report to the trustees as a board, not Mr. Burkholder. Mr. Burkholder is the president of the board, and we all have the same power as a trustee. He does manage and is actually responsible for the agenda. He has that. But I know it can become confusing if you are trying to talk to each and every one of the trustees, but that is kind of how it should flow, that you should be speaking to the three of us.
Right.
And so I think if you do that, because the only report that I've had from you is the one today. That's pretty much it. I don't have any other communications from you. So if we could just kind of.
Absolutely.
And I get it.
Many of the conversations about the agenda, honestly.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
the
it
conversation.
is. Oh, yeah, and it's a lot. to put
But
agenda together.
absolutely, I mean, anything that I feel that, you know, one, it needs to come from me because it can't be between you guys.
That's exactly right.
Then
Yes, ma'am.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you
And you
very
should
much.
also feel free, because it's mostly Gary calling me.
Okay.
So feel free to call me.
Yeah, and you know me, I don't like to bother people that are ill. I have that, you know, special place in my heart, like, okay, they're trying to heal and get through what they're getting through, and
I know.
give them that time. If they want to call me, I feel that you could call me when you
Sure.
feel up to it. Not,
I
you know,
appreciate
and that's
that.
kind of how I roll, so
I-
thank you for understanding that. Yeah.
And Susan, you and I have talked about kind of the concerns in that, and I won't get into all of them, but my concern is, again, Mr. Burkholder not properly dealing with stuff like that grant reimbursement, that the guy that came in, Mr. Burkholder didn't
Grant
inform
reimbursement.
you, and just other things. It's we need to move forward, and I have the utmost confidence in your ability. I'm just concerned about the conduit through Mr. Burkholder.
Well, Mr. Evans, ever since we wouldn't approve your legal fees, when you had an
That has nothing to do
altercation with an employee, you have been on the attack of Ms. McKee and myself.
You
And-
violated
and
your
I'm-
promises.
Well, you can, you know, we're not gonna take up a whole lot of time, but you wanna continue to attack. It's obvious to the community, it's on Facebook. It doesn't matter what anybody says on Facebook, you have to go after them, argue, that's not proper, it's illegal. And my job is to try to keep decorum and keep things moving. And I'm glad that Ms. Bedsole shared so that people have an appreciation. There's a lot of things that need to be done yet in the township that aren't getting done as timely as we would all like. I'm not going to disagree with that. That's a fact. But until we get more staffing and more assistance in zoning, and quite frankly, cooperation among all three trustees, that has been my goal. But let me just say honestly, it's very difficult to do the job of trustee when you have a singular trustee who continues to bully on Facebook. Every meeting, he's going to mention my name 10 to 15 times, and Ms. McKee, as was noted here tonight. And it's difficult to work with a person whose sole purpose is to criticize others, bully on Facebook, gaslight, and put out false narratives. Things do get missed in this office. We're trying to do as much as we can with throughput. So it's up to you to decide who you actually believe. But I try to keep calm at these meetings, and I try to keep it at a calm pace. But I'll be honest, it's difficult for me not to engage when I'm constantly being torn down, and not just me.
Yeah, yeah.
Residents in the community. And the way to get more things done here is for all three trustees to participate and to do so in a professional manner. And unfortunately, one trustee absolutely refuses to do that, and it's well documented. But
These
it's
are-
still my goal to move. That's fine, Mr.
And these are
Evans.
just excuses because I have zero power. I have zero duty, so I am stopping nothing. And as you see, these are just a fraction of the people that contact me constantly. I know Mr. Phillips' phone number. I know his daughter down the street. I know these individuals since just a few weeks ago and their concerns, because nothing's getting done. And again, I have zero duties and zero power, so I'm not stopping anything. We have the comprehensive plan since June 28th that hasn't moved a centimeter.
Well, I didn't want to have to get into this, but it's been several months ago, Mr. Evans. I said, because you complain about everything, I said, well, then why don't you, what's the solution?
Yeah.
And you had a solution, and you forwarded some things to the administrator. But did you contact?
I have been
did you
forwarding what
contact
needed to
next
be
plan?
done for 3 years,
Well-
and you're 1 year, and
Well-
you went back on your promise of
Well,
almost
you like to-
everything.
You like to delegate to others, but
You lied to us about Scanell.
Okay.
You lied to us, you lied to residents about Scanell.
we'll
You-
go to, well, this seems to be a recurring.
Again, I have zero, you took away every duty I have, and even the diligence system, we're not using it, and you
Point of order.
stopped that.
Point of order. Thank you, Ms. McKee. We'll go to new business, Boyles Farm, Section 1, final plat, signing. Is there any representatives here at this time that want to discuss that, please?
Yes, thank
Would you please come to the podium, state your name and address, and that way we'll be able to hear you for the record. Thank you. And just so you know, the reason I'm having a lot of these development issues and everything coming to the board is because we don't have the staffing. So I think it's best, and if you talk about transparency, I want it to come to the board so all three trustees can hear it, and it's a little more efficient that way. So thanks for coming tonight. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and trustees. My name is Molly Gwynn. Address is 250 South Street. I am the legal counsel for AMH Development, the applicant for the final plat approval. And present with me also is Joe Pappas with AMH Development, as well as Jim Watkins with Verdantis. And again, we are just here to...
Could you speak up just a little
Sure.
louder? Thank you.
We are just here this evening to obtain signatures from this board on the final plat. We have submitted it to the county. We have incorporated the requested comments that the county had regarding the plat notes. This is only the first phase of the Broyles Farm development that's before you this evening for signature on the final plat. And we believe that we've incorporated all of the requested information from all of the applicable reviewing agencies. We would just note that this is largely an administrative process with respect to signing this now that all of those comments have been addressed. And our engineer is certainly happy to speak to the technical aspects of those comments and our efforts to address them. We've submitted draft homeowners association documents and CCRs. We've submitted the open space management plan. And again, we have worked with the county on incorporating their comments and memorializing those with the required plat notes. And so with that, we would just ask for this board's signature on that document this evening so that we can record the plat and get started. Thank you.
Any questions from the trustees?
I do have a question. You said you sent this to the board. Did you send it to the full board?
We did send this on Friday directly to the fiscal administrator, and we sent all of the submitted materials that had previously been submitted via the open government portal. So that is when that was provided. We did not send it directly to individual trustees. No, sir.
Who'd you send it to?
I sent it to Ms. Contugno.
Pardon?
I sent it to Ms. Contugno.
You sent me.
It would have been Friday.
Do you recall which email address? She's used a few. Is it fiscal at?
I believe it was...
Because I haven't seen anything, and I wouldn't be comfortable signing anything without some kind of legal review or.
Who's it from again? AMH?
Yes, it would have been from Molly Gwynn, Gwin.
And my question too would be, we have this on the schedule, we can attach all the documents. None of the other items on here have any attached documents. We really need to start using diligent the way.
Well, Mr. Evans, we don't have the staff to take
It
those
doesn't take
document
staff, more staff
attachments.
to do
Yes,
it.
it
No,
does.
it does not.
These issues have been dealt with our consultant, Broyles Farm, and a lot of these development issues, and ever since the 31st of December, that's been shut down. And I was very clear at that time, and so was the administrator. And I'm getting a little aggravated now because the fact is you were told by the administrator, myself, and others that without that additional staff, and it was you and Trustee McKee, that said, we don't need that staff. We're not going to support it.
No, I didn't say we didn't need it. I said we needed it, but like your refusal to post that position
Mr. Evans,
314 days
well, you
before.
can continue to do those kinds of attacks, but let's talk about where we are here today. How are we going to deal with this issue?
Does this have anything to do with the lot split that was required on the Etna portion to kind of redefine that David Hodge was working on?
It does not have anything to do with that lot split that I'm aware of. I just want to note, I did review the zoning resolution. 1703G indicates that the review of this plat is administrative in nature. Plats, construction drawings, and restrictive covenants may be submitted to the zoning inspector or their designated representatives for administrative review. I know your zoning resolution also requires approval by the Licking County Planning Commission.
Right.
This plat has been approved by the Licking County Planning Commission. They gave comments and feedback, and those comments and feedback were incorporated. I also believe that the only requirement is that the plat substantially comply with the final development plan. Frequently, plats like this one have far greater detail, just because the engineering is further along, and this is that sort of a drawing, and this is in substantial compliance with that final development plan. I very respectfully understand that this board needs to sign it. But I couldn't find in the zoning resolution any other detail indicating that there was to be a hearing before this board. But we certainly want to address any concerns and answer any questions that you have regarding this.
Well, I appreciate bringing us up to date on that, and it was our consultant, Mr. Schultz, was working on this, and so was aware that of this going on. My question is, you're shaking your head no, he was working on it. So anyway, my question is, did Soil and Water sign off on there was a maintenance plan, stormwater maintenance plan, correct?
There is a stormwater maintenance plan, and Jim has Soil and Water signed off, or would you like to come up and address that?
Yes, real quick, Gary. Jim Watkins here. I work for Verdantis. This was part of the documents I uploaded to OpenGov last week. Joe Jarvis has that.
I know Joe.
In review. So yes, there's an operation and maintenance plan.
Right. And the township, just so for the record, township hasn't had an opportunity to review that if it were uploaded last week, because
probably not. I don't know what your schedules are.
And then the protective covenants have also
That's
been.
correct.
And is that on OpenGov as well?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good.
Open space management plan.
So what's the pleasure of the board? And I do appreciate you taking time to come tonight and
Sure.
explain that. So.
And real quickly, I have worked with Lance for the past month on this plat.
Right.
I addressed his comments, and this last Friday, we had additional comment from Brad Mercer. We incorporated those comments in this plat as well. So
On OpenGov.
I feel real comfortable. It's in a good state.
Okay.
To gain your signatures.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'd personally like to see the information, but again, it's on the agenda. This should be ferreted out before seeking the information and all that.
Who do you propose to do that, Mr. Evans?
You put this on the agenda.
I absolutely
again, there was
did.
zero information.
That's why we're bringing it to the board to underscore.
It's disrespectful to them that we don't have our ducks in a row.
What's your pleasure,
that we
Ms.
can
McKee?
address this.
I would ask that we have, if Mr. Evans, for fairness, needs more time to address it, since he didn't get the documents, give him that opportunity to look over them. But we can sign outside of a meet the board meeting tonight, as early as tomorrow. Mr. Evans, how long do you think you would need to?
No, we can sign checks and order,
No,
we can't
but,
sign these outside.
Mr.
No.
Evans, I don't, Mr. Evans.
What's his holdup? What kind of problems hardship is it gonna cause for you?
So the plat does need to be notarized.
Yes.
And I can notarize it this evening. We are in a bit of a time crunch in terms of commencing construction. We really like, which we can't do until the plat is recorded
Yes.
and those parcels are created. We do have the plat,
Yeah.
if that is.
After the meeting?
to
Okay,
review.
that's fair.
Well, we won't
No,
be
we
able
can
to.
give it to you right now.
You can provide it to us, but we won't be able to review it outside of a meeting, so. Again, we can take the zoning, but I don't have any timetable for when those documents can be accessed.
Mr. Burkholder, the administrator, wants to speak.
Sure, go ahead.
Just to clarify, I believe what you were saying is you would like to go ahead and approve it
Correct.
and then allow some time for review.
Right.
And because it's been approved.
Right.
You can then sign
Right,
after the meeting,
correct.
which we would sign
Yeah,
after.
We could.
exactly.
So we're gonna approve things we're not sure we want to
No,
approve
you-
because we haven't reviewed them. That seems,
He needs to review that.
no, I think everybody needs to
Yeah.
review.
I just wanted to.
No,
Well, we could
clarify.
give conditional approval upon further review, correct?
And that will save us time and you guys as well.
I feel like if you give conditional approval, then you would have to come back and get final approval.
Yeah.
So I believe it would need to be a minimum of two of you giving approval for it tonight with the proviso that Trustee Evans would have time to review it. I understand you would.
But what would be the conditions? Because we don't know what could be an error or
Well,
not
I'm
submitted.
gonna-
I understand, I was.
We've been, if it's submitted to OpenGov, we've got it whether Jackie didn't give it to us or not. That's the whole system, and I've been asking for access to that for a while so I can review what's coming in. I'd still like that. But again, these are the things that should be figured out before and properly dealt with.
Well, Mr. Evans, we don't have the people to do it.
No, we do.
Who are they?
Well, again, we don't because you didn't even, the first meeting, have outside counsel approved that we need
There
for
you go
or
again.
consultants.
You're off topic,
Or any
so
of that.
move
You're
the
the
table.
one that did for
Move the
314
table.
days,
Is
put
there
that
a second?
position.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
What is this for?
We're tabling it.
Okay, yes.
Will you drop off the Mylar?
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes, please. Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
And now Otarma. Ms. Coutinho, you said we had an individual we needed for Otarma,
Yes.
a representative.
And that's usually the administrator.
Okay, I'll move to appoint Susan Bedsole as our administrator for the township to Otarma. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Well, discussion first, but
Go ahead,
again,
Mr. Evans.
again, the only thing on here is Otarma representatives, plural. No information provided of what it is. If Ms. Coutinho had some documents saying we need representatives from the,
I sent
why
them.
isn't,
Did you get it, Mr. Evans? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
abstain?
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. OTA membership dues for staff and the various board members we have. I know we approved a reorganization, but in order for any of our zoning individuals or zoning inspector or anyone to be able to go to the conference or to access any of the training seminars, they need to be a member of the OTA. So I will move that we authorize membership for our zoning commission, BZA members, zoning inspector, the administrator, fiscal officer, trustees, We are members. Ms. Continuo is sending in a check for the trustees, yourself, and our zoning inspector, but we need it for the other positions as well. Is there a second?
Well, I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
Okay, as far as the OTA membership dues, normally you'll have your trustee and your fiscal officer. And then if one of the fiscal officers or the trustees can't go to that, the meetings that they have twice a year, then that administrator can go in that place. So we would be really paying for 4 memberships. Now, my question is a membership separate from us, the dues if they want to take some kind of training that they could take through the OTA?
You can't take the training on the OTA. It's a subscription of $250, $275, but you don't have access to it unless you're a member. So I know there's been confusion on that. We verified it with Mark Van Buren, who is the county chair for OTA. He's also on the state board, and we've also confirmed it with the Ohio Township Association office. That in order, yes, it's a blanket subscription, so anyone can take those. You don't have to sign up, which normally there's a $20, $25 fee. But in order to do that, you need to be a member. So trustees are at $85 yearly membership, but the dues are paid through the county. You don't pay directly to the state. They come to the county. The county association gets part of those fees. The rest goes to the state for the membership. And then it's either associate or affiliate members, which would be our BZA or zoning commission members. Those are at $50. And the reason it's money well spent because this board has talked about the training, getting additional training for our BZA members and our zoning commission members, which can be either through other organizations. We've had legal counsel come in and do some additional training for them, but this would give them an opportunity to go either if the training is actually at the OTA office, a lot of it is webinar or online, live online, and this would give them access at their own convenience. So if the commitment of the board is to get our BZA members and our zoning commission members as much training, professional training, then this would be a good investment. But there is a process, and in order to go to the conference at the end of the month, in order to get the membership price to go to that conference, our zoning inspector is going to have to become a member. And it's kind of convoluted because you got to pay to the county, then they got to get it to the state organization so that you can sign up and get the membership rate. So that's the situation. Any further questions or discussions?
Yes, so is the motion on all boards and commissions, or, I mean, we're not doing committees and stuff, park committee, or it's just BZA, zoning commission?
Be the BZA and the zoning.
Staff, okay.
Yeah, and staff.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. We now come to the Turk, which is the Tax Incentive Review Council. They meet once a year. There are two different. Pardon?
You passed one.
Appeals.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Board of Zoning.
Yeah, Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
We have, yeah, let me back up because that's first on our here. We did not appoint a second alternate to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Those are only one-year terms at our previous meetings. So we have so we advertised it again, put it out for everyone. We have 2 applicants, Bob Thurman and Ryan Davis. Ryan Davis currently serves on the BZA as an alternate. Those are only one-year terms as opposed to the full terms that the full BZA members have. So at this time, I would make a motion to reappoint Ryan Davis to a one-year term from 1/1/25 to 12/31/25. Is there a second to the motion for a reappointment? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
I think Bob Thurman would be more qualified, and I'd move to amend that motion to replace with Bob Thurman.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion to amend? The motion fails. Any further discussion on the main motion?
The
to
only thing I
appoint
would
Brian
say is we
Davis?
should be interviewing these people, and we're not, it's not proper.
A roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Well, we would, Mr. Evans, and I believe that interviews should take place in executive session, but unfortunately, that has been complicated since you have recorded executive sessions. And
Because
that-
you wouldn't put
and
a
that's-
non-audio
and that's-
security camera to protect me and my safety in there. That is the reason why. You even lied about it, remember? When you said I didn't notify the board, and I did. You smart, but you lied.
Well,
You got caught.
I laugh a little bit because you continue to bring this up, and it shows how ridiculous you are about, you
No.
have to have a camera everywhere.
Remember that time that Ms.
So-
McKee felt threatened by you and called the sheriff and you had to run out? This is
Well,
the stuff I'm talking about.
That's
ladies and gentlemen, 3 years down the road and we still
I've got
talk
the
about
report.
well, we know you do, so. We'll move on now, so I'm glad we got that appointment filled. Now we'll go on to the Tax Incentive Review Council. This is a board. There's one in Reynolds, one for Reynoldsburg, and some of the tax incentives that are awarded in the city of Reynoldsburg. The second is with Licking County. I actually served on it for a very short time at one time. And they meet once a year and they review the various incentives that are given to companies both in the city of Reynoldsburg, which it actually may be in the township as well, and the ones here in the county. And they have a report, and they meet at the county, and there are representatives from all over the county. And they also they also consider the amount of jobs that are created as well. Many times those abatements are linked to the numbers of jobs that are created by those companies that have come to Etna Township. So we have, let me see here who all has applied for these. There are 2 positions. Mr. Evans is correct. There are 2 positions available here in the city of that'll be on the Reynoldsburg Tax Incentive Review Council, and then 2 here for Licking County. So we have all the same applicants that have applied for all the positions. We have Brian Stewart, Letitia McIntyre, Thea Young, Adam Kelly, Roxanne Diani, and Jason Robinson. Is there anyone at this time that
Well,
wants?
before we move forward, typically most jurisdictions will have their administrator on the board because they are intimately familiar with the agreements and that. So I would say, I don't think there's any rush in this. We could either table it. Ms. Betzel and I have discussed this a bit. But I think she should be one of the members because again, it's about the knowledge of it. And I think she would be very beneficial on those boards.
What's your feeling, Ms. Betzel?
When Trustee Evans did mention that to me, I mean, I feel like at this time we have advertised it for people to show interest, and I don't necessarily disagree with that stance because having one person from the township can be a benefit. I do kind of feel the way, kind of where we are in the process right now, and I also know that meeting is coming up.
Yes.
In
Well, I don't know. It could be in February. We're not quite sure, but I think
So-
it's critical we get these positions
so
filled.
my only concern is my ability, I mean, it's only one meeting, and it's my ability to attend that meeting. I just want to be very honest,
Right.
is concerning for me, and since we don't kind of know when that's going to fall, and I know that I have a very set schedule for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I just was concerned, I didn't want us to then actually miss having representation on it. I mean, I know there's 2, but, miss having representation only because of that. So I agree. I think for the next go-around, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you can still be involved with the information because we'll get the packet ahead of
It
time.
was just
So
my concern for just this first time was,
Well, I would move to appoint Brian Stewart and Thea Young to both the boards.
I'd like to take these individually, please, Mr. Evans.
Well, that's my
Is
motion.
there anyone that wants to? Is there anyone here that's applied for this?
Yeah, I agree that with Ms. Betzel just said, you know, we went through the motion of advertising, and you got ones to apply, so I think we should, you know, respect what you said as far as holding off for another year, you know, and as time comes in the future, you know, because we can switch up. So I would like to see the ones that have applied, let us, you know, discuss their background and see what they would fit in. Brian Stewart is somebody that, I looked at his resume, he is an attorney. He lives in the township, of course. He's reading the resume, looks like he would be a good candidate to sit on that board.
So second, we'll take them individually. So there's a second to the motion for Brian Stewart.
Yes.
Roll call, please.
Well,
Mr. Evans?
are we changing the motion? Because the motion was actually for 2.
Well,
We're doing one at a time.
I think we ought to do them individually so that we can vote
Well, then we have
individually.
to amend the motion, correct? I'll amend the motion.
Why don't you withdraw
to
the
Brian,
motion?
to nominate Brian Stewart to both
Is there a second
Licking
to
County
the-
and Reynoldsburg.
Second to the amendment. I'll second it. Roll call on
Mr.
the
Evans?
amendment.
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, now vote on Mr. Stewart. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
I'll make the motion to appoint Thea Young to the Reynoldsburg.
I'll
This is for
second.
the Reynoldsburg. Second. Any further
Is only
comment or dis-
Reynoldsburg or Reynoldsburg and Licking County?
No, we're not. We're doing them individually, Mr. Evans. We have all these candidates. We're not appointed to both boards. This is for the Reynoldsburg.
So who was Brian Stewart then?
That was Reynoldsburg. They've all applied for all these positions. so
Right,
we
but
sort
it
of-
wasn't stated Reynoldsburg and.
Well, I'm sorry,
Licking
it's-
stated first. So.
So it's Reynoldsburg. So any further discussion to appoint Thea Young to Reynoldsburg? She's been very involved in
I'll
this.
second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
No.
You have something?
No.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, now we're coming to the Licking County. We have 2 positions on this. I'm going to move to appoint Letitia McIntyre to one of those positions. Is there a second?
I'll second. And this is for the Licking County.
This is for the Licking County.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I think Brian Stewart would be more qualified, and to refresh the board's memory, Letitia McIntyre is the one that has not been following Ohio Revised Code repeatedly.
You're out of order, Mr.
No, it is
Evans.
not.
You
I am not
are
out of order. This is
order.
about,
You
no, it
are
is
out of
not.
order.
I am not. She violated that
Continue to
3 or more
attack,
times
continue
over
to
the
attack.
last year, provided her flow charts. Everybody's been telling her and she just ignores it. She is not qualified, and this is what should be done in executive session, but you force it out
You're
here and it's not
disgraceful.
proper.
Well, you've done that, so roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jason Robinson to the second position for the Turk. Is there a second?
No. Oh, no. I'll second for discussion.
Second. Discussion.
So you motion one person. Okay.
Yeah. This would be the second position, and I made a motion. He's one of the applicants for the position.
For Licking,
It's Licking.
This is Licking, correct. This is the second position for Licking. And these terms are 1/1.
It'll be 1/1/25 to 12/31.
Yep. 12/31.
26.
26.
2-year term.
Okay.
I had to do math.
These are a 2-year term.
The only thing I'll say, I have full confidence in Mr. Robinson, but I'm going to stick with, I believe Brian Stewart should be on both with qualifications. So that's
I'll support the Brian Stewart, putting him on the Licking County one as well.
Well, we have to deal with this one. I'll move to amend
No, I want to vote on this first. I'm going
Well,
to
no,
call,
but
I'm going to call the question.
I motion to amend, so
Okay,
you have to
you go ahead.
vote on this to, for Brian Stewart to be the Licking County Turk rep.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second.
Under discussion, I think we ought to have more people involved. Mr. Stewart does have good credentials, but I think getting more people involved is better yet, so I'll have a roll call on the amendment.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes,
So the motion passes to amend the appointment to Brian Stewart,
correct?
and roll call on that.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
No.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Turk appointments are done.
We were back to the first.
Okay, item F, request to waive the spousal, is there a motion regarding the spousal contribution for health insurance? Mr. Evans, I believe you wanted this on here?
Well, I proposed a policy, but it's different than what I wanted, so I'm not sure what we're doing.
I'd just like to speak to that.
Ms. Bedsole?
So, this one singular issue about spouses has been brought forward, but, upon kind of getting in there and reviewing a lot of the things that we are currently offering or not offering, or what our pricing structure is or is not, it made more sense to collectively have the board be presented with, here's your options from, there's a 4-tier type of policy, single spouse, single family, all family, those types of things, to be presented with what that looks like, so that you could collectively make decisions that would benefit, well, everyone, employees and the township. But if you kind of piecemeal it, sometimes you're making decisions that are not necessarily reflective of the larger whole. And so I've been collecting that data now for the last several weeks from the insurance company. Now, one reason why I did have this put on here is I do know that we have some employees right now. So what we have is, we have a few years ago, a board.
10 years ago.
Right, well, I know, a few. When you're this old, it's just a few. So, but we did have a resolution that used the words that there will be a spousal
Cargo?
Yeah, well, no, contribution. And so, until such time, I put this on here so that if the board wanted to, until such time as we kind of figure out that larger package, if they wanted to give the carve out, they could do that. And that's why I use the words until, it would only be to the end of this year, at the very latest. I mean, I plan on having it long before this. Or until the board adopts a different policy. And so it would be that spousal carve out, meaning they don't have to contribute until such time as the board then makes kind of the final decision. Again, up to you guys whether or not you want to think about that, but I just have been, received a lot of comments from
Employees?
Well, not as much from employees. Just in talking, it's mostly talking with the insurance company and what we kind of need to look at and those types of things. But I thought that, let's just, because this continues to just circle around, let's bring it back and make a decision, yay or nay. It was really my thought.
I proposed a policy that, my concern is, many, like the Tascola does it and other jurisdictions do it, they'll actually pay an employee not to take the insurance. So I want to ensure that there's not a windfall for an employee's spouse coming here. So that's where my policy covered that. If we just say there's no cost, Patasko's $3,000. no, I'm not saying anybody's spouse works for Pataska or not. I don't want us to have the burden of additional expense and they get and that's where my policy said if your spouse gets any kind of funding for not taking that, that's the cost to come to our policy.
I don't know that we have that ability to interfere with a contract in a different jurisdiction. I would be concerned about putting language in that does talk about that. I hear what
Well,
you're
and that's
saying.
what I asked for legal review to be dealt with.
And that, of course, will be part of, you know, the package that kind of comes to you about insurance globally. So this, you know, again, this is a short-term fix, if you will, or not a fix, whatever. This is a short term. I plan on us having, hopefully, the answer by the end of February. That's my goal.
Yeah, well, I would like to say that when you come to work for the township, that's a benefit of the employee, not the benefit of the spouse or their children. Now, I would propose putting the kids, because under the federal guidelines, kids can stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26. But does not mean it's going to be free. It's up to the board to decide if we want it. We will have to put the kids on there if that employee is employed here, but then there's a charge. It's up to the board if we want to charge or if we want it to be free. It's up to us as a board to make that decision. Second, I want to say is, we talked about carve-out a while ago, and carve-out, which was passed, I believe, in, was it 2014 or 15?
15.
Okay. And that was for an employee wants to put their spouse that does not have insurance on the insurance, but there is a cost. Back then, it was $400. Today, insurance is different. If you look at it today, it's $800. Now, if that spouse does have insurance from their employer, they have to go with their employer. Because again, it's back to what I was saying. It's a benefit of the employee to come here to work for the township and get the benefits. But it's not, we're not here to give out health insurance to their families. It's just not set up like that. So I think we should continue the way we've had it in the past, where the employee gets the benefit. Now, if that spouse has insurance elsewhere, even Medicare or elsewhere with their employer, yeah, but if they don't offer it, they could bring a letter to the township, I would say, saying that they don't have insurance, and then there is a fee. I mean, it's up to us as a board to decide if we want to do it that way.
Mr. Evans?
I just need to correct that because the spousal carve-out is only when a spouse has additional coverage, and if they wanted to come here in spite of that, there would be a $400 charge. So you said the opposite of that. My thing is, we're talking about looking at what the costs are for children. We haven't been spending that. We haven't been charging anything, so now you're looking at changing that. Number one, none of the elected official positions can be changed on that during the terms. But two, a lot of the employees are working under wages which they can get elsewhere. And one of the reasons is because of the higher benefits. To let everybody know, we pay zero for health insurance, zero deductibles, nothing out of pocket. And I used to joke that you couldn't get better unless they paid you. They do $50, $200 if you do all the wellness stuff. It's unheard of in the private sector, and I talked to our insurance broker, only select public entities do that because they're given the benefits. But I don't think it's fair to penalize the spouse when we're covering children. You could have 18 kids and there's no charge. But again, my policy covers that because I think one of our employees may be in that situation. And I don't think it's fair that they get a windfall, but it just, kind of wipes that out, and that's the actual cost. So I would be fine with if we need to add that, or is that on the resolution for the legal review to do that to make sure, but I don't think there's any problem with setting the cost to that.
We don't cover family.
Well,
we don't do that.
Well,
We don't
Kids?
cover family, kids, right, but I'm saying I've seen
And
them.
family without.
No,
Well, we're-
I've seen them where the benefits was checked was family. That means spouse, the employee, as well as the children. We don't cover that.
Yes, we do.
No, we do
Well,
not.
I think our administrator has said it well. We're a little premature. This policy, all of this insurance and the benefits we provide needs a thorough review, which the administrator has already undertaken. I know this $400, there was some question whether that applied just to that year of 2015 or did it go forward. The only caution I would have is that if you waive that $400 a month now, it's obviously could cost us even more. Plus, this is only good till 12/31/25. I'd hate to see an employee have a spouse come under our insurance and then find out that that waiver was only good till the end of the year. After our comprehensive review of what we're going to do with our insurance premiums, are we going to have a percentage that employees have to pay going forward? So I'd hate someone to come in and say, okay, now I can bring them on at no cost, but at the end of the year, that policy could change, because we're going to take a comprehensive look here at what we're
So
doing with
basically,
insurance benefits.
excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr.
Go ahead,
Burkholder.
go ahead.
So basically, you have an employee, their spouse can get a stipend monthly, $3,000-4,000 or a year, whatever they do, and then they don't take the insurance from their employer, but they get on our insurance. Okay?
Correct.
Yeah, right. But that's what I'm saying. Remember, it's a benefit for the employee. It's not about their spouse. It's a benefit to come to work for the township, and we pay that benefit for that employee. Okay? And then, of course, I go back under the children, because under the HIPAA law, the kids can stay on that insurance till they're 26. But again, I'll go back to the pricing. When you talked about $400, that was back in 15, okay? And people were making less money. A lot of the people come to work now, they're making $25 to $35 an hour. So yeah, they can afford to pay a little bit on the children if we decide. I mean, I would ask our administrator to go and do some research from some other townships around and see what they're doing, just to get a little idea of how they're doing their insurance.
So are we going to take any action on this waiver of the current?
Well, I'll just add that I've researched this before. I have a lot of the information of what others are doing, because when we're looking at pay rates and stuff like that, I mean, the difference between like Pataskal and us, with our insurance, it's like a $3 an hour difference of benefit to us. I think we're going to possibly lose employees.
Fine,
but also to Ms.
say-
McKee stating that we haven't had anybody covered under family. Yes, we did.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson had.
Okay,
had
but-
family
but-
coverage.
but let's-
We had-
is there
this
gonna be-
isn't that difficult.
Is there going to be any action on this tonight? If so, there
I-
needs to be a motion.
I move to approve the policy I presented to the board, instituting a waiver of the charges unless the spouse gets compensated for not taking their medical coverage.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion by Mr. Evans? Hearing none, the motion fails. We'll move on to discussion, and of course, we'll have more follow-up from the administrator, comprehensive look at our
Yeah.
health benefit
And I would
insurance
ask, look
policy.
at other townships, please.
And any information you have, Mr. Evans, make sure you please forward that on to the administrator.
Did you read that policy?
Item G, discussion regarding employee health reimbursement account benefits cards. I've got complaints from employees that these cards have been blocked and they're not going through, so I've tried to get a hold of our contact at the broker. I haven't had a call back. Is there anyone else? I don't know.
Well,
Do you
I
have any-
forwarded information on this, and it's been discussed before. The cards that were temporarily disabled were for anyone that did not submit the EOBs as required. Now, there's a simple thing, which I signed up for, which gives them access to EOBs, so no one has to do anything. They do it on their end. So pharmacies aren't checked, but the EOBs, and I sent that link, and I sent that information. They did state that any charges that were for 2024 shouldn't be used now on this card. Apparently, they want to keep it separate. I'm not sure if I agree with that. They should be able to look at the EOB and say, okay, that's from that period and that. They're requesting that the employee submit for reimbursement, but the reimbursement doesn't mean you have to pay out of pocket and show them a receipt. Just show them that it's due. They'll wire it in your account, then you can pay them directly. But again, I would think that we could use that card for any lingering, say like December ones that come in to pay it. They should be able to figure that out. Of that HRA is going for that to that. But if everybody signs up for that link, that easy link, you don't have to do anything.
All I can say is this insurance thing, since it's been a year now, it's gotten a lot more confusing,
Yes.
and it has been. Yes, it has, Mr. Evans, because I've talked to the employees. So don't sit there and tell me when they say they can't get the subscriptions or prescriptions paid for and stuff. So I think we need to have the broker come in, because I'll be quite frank, I don't want to hear any. It's not. You talk about treating our employees right, then it ought to be easy. We were sold that, well, we're going to change this, we're going to save money, and this is going to make it easier, and quite frankly, it hasn't turned out that way.
It is easy if you don't select and give them the permission to get the EOBs directly from Etna.
You've already said that.
Right, then it's their responsibility to send the EOBs to them. That is it. But it's a simple process. It took me under 2 minutes to do.
And I suggest you get that information to the
I have sent it to
administrator.
everybody and asked the road superintendent to give it to all the employees.
Mr. Burkholder, I would ask that our administrator starts working on the insurance to figure out, just let Trustee Evans, let her just do the full research, get back to the board. I concur. There's been a lot of issues with the card. I had a problem with my card. There's also additional information that some of our road crew are no longer has a health care, not the reimbursement, but the other card, the HSA health care, yes. And so that's something else we need to look into as well.
What do you mean? We voted as a board to discontinue the HSA and go to a straight HRA. Because otherwise, we're just spending money. That $2,700 is out the door, and if they don't use it, they're pocketing it. Why should we do that? That was the whole reason to go to the HRA.
We've already had that discussion.
So Mrs.
This isn't that complicated.
She could go over the insurance and try to figure out what we're doing and where we should go from here.
Is there a motion to, we're on to item H, Resolution 2025-003, opinion request for Licking County Prosecutor's Office. Is there a motion for that resolution?
Wait a minute, you said on, okay, H.
Item H,
Okay.
under new business. Is there a motion for those opinions?
No, wait. Did we not add for the employee spousal carve out? Don't we want to put that in there, or
The what? We did.
is it?
We voted it down.
No, for a legal review, the administrator was saying we're not sure if we can do it or not. Don't we want to put that as a legal review so it's addressed?
Not at this time. Well, first of all, you gotta have a motion. You gotta have a motion for your resolution.
Okay, well, I move to approve resolution 2025-003, resolution requesting certain legal opinions from the Licking County Prosecutor's Office, with the addition of 12 being the insurance and spousal carve-out.
I would like to amend that.
Well, there's not a second to the amendment. So is there a second to the amendment to add that?
To the motion?
Well, is there a motion first of all?
Well, I
Is there a
move
Mr.
to approve the resolution with the addition of
The
12,
amendment. Is there a
the
second?
employee spousal.
Is there a second to his amended?
And that just gives
Motion to
her the
amend.
ability to seek it.
Is there a second? Hearing none, motion fails. Well, So is there a motion to, without the amendments, to approve what has already been?
Yeah, I move resolution number 2025-003 for resolution requesting certain legal opinions from the Licking County Prosecutor's Office as presented.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion, but I'll move to amend, well, first of all, discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to amend it so we can have a discussion in regards to Mr. Evans standing up at the podium as a trustee to speak as a resident and then sit back down and become the trustee. That, we need to talk to the prosecutor on that and find out the opinion on that.
Sure.
Well, before,
Sure.
well, I'll second that amendment.
So we'll
but-
add that, right?
But hold it. I thought that there was already an opinion on that. Am
It
I-
was an opinion on it, but of
So
course.
where is it?
There was,
There wasn't.
yes, there
Mr.
was a
Evans,
discussion on
let
it
the trustee
before.
finish.
In fact, I can bring this up. When you wanted to get us to pay your legal bills, you became a resident when there was nobody in the building. And that's what you sent an email asking for us to pay your legal bills because you became a trustee the same day that you had your body cam on and you had a altercation with Mr. Singleton.
No, when he charged
Yes.
at me over the secretary's
I'm not going to
desk.
get into all that. I just want to kind of
Then
remind
let's
yourself.
vote on the opinion,
So we need to get
on the amendment, so I'll,
from the prosecutor's
roll call
office.
on the amendment.
Yes, Evans.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Then I will have a discussion. I'm gonna,
Okay, so we're adding,
an opinion that when a trustee goes to the podium and speaks as a resident, is it legal or appropriate to return to the dais as a
Because they
as a
want to
trustee?
silence me and they're
Mr.
trying to
Evans,
stop
we're out
anyway.
of discussion right now.
So
That
much
was a
for
question.
working together.
Well, it has been a question.
It's just, yeah, let's just find
And
out.
let me talk briefly about some of the things. I'm not going to support all of these here tonight because there's a number of questions. So I'll go through them quickly and then I'll make so that the public knows what we're talking about here. First of all, the township receipts of the 2022 farm proceeds. That's been looked into. I've never seen any document that said those monies were supposed to come to the township as opposed to the homeowner.
It was our property, the
And
sales
the
contract.
public records response, I've got some things there that I'll support. For example, Treble LLC
Yeah.
request, I have no problem. I'm not sure what that public request is. Mr. Evans, what does that mean under discussion? On the Treble, what's the public record request there?
Numerous public records requests have been made by myself and others
For what?
the treble agreement documents and that, and they have
For the
steadfastly
agreement?
refused. Even the agreement, yeah.
Well, I think we have the signed agreement.
No, they're stating that it's confidential, and this has been going on for almost 3 years now. But why wouldn't you let the administrator deal with these things as she sees fit? This is just to allow her to speak to our attorney, and you want to limit that.
No, Mr.
Why?
Evans, because
She can limit that if she doesn't think
Well,
it's.
Mr. Evans,
I
because.
did add letter B to be more of a catch-all for that
Oh,
very
I see,
issue.
various requests, okay.
Correct.
Because we have numerous requests from even before September, still not, Mr. Hanson, though I disagree with most of his fantasy statements, he should get the records requests he's asked.
Well, my amendment is to delete numbers 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7, because that's something that I've requested, and that can be taken up at a later date, and that has to do with reimbursement of a former fiscal officer for Medicare payments. It's my understanding that the township could not reimburse, but I think we want some clarification on that. And also number 9, the proper process for bidding dredging of work on the park pond. I think that's premature. And I would like to add number 12, which is the township in conversation.
Wait, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Well, no, that was your 12. I'll
No,
make
but
it
he had
13.
12 of, don't you remember the whole thing that's trying to silence me? That was added as 12.
We've added the trustee.
Would you let me finish? I had a 12 too, which will become 13, and that's the township nuisance abatement process, which I've had conversations with the prosecutor and with the township administrator, and as we move forward with that, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate process, so that would be number 13. So that's my amendment. Is there a second to it?
I'm sorry.
Township what?
Yeah. Process for 13.
The township nuisance abatement process. Clarification from the prosecutor, since we will have some of those coming forward.
Okay.
So is there a second to the amendment of those deletions and the addition that I had? This is a second amendment.
And then what was the 12th?
Well, the 12th was the one that we had regarding speaking at the podium, and number 13 would be the township nuisance abatement process. So is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second.
So on discussion, you don't want to look into the $15,000 of reimbursement that, according to our prosecutor, shouldn't be reimbursable, but you don't want to authorize that.
Should or shouldn't? The prosecutor already ruled on this?
The prosecutor said that you can't be reimbursed, so it's against
That's
federal
correct.
law to be reimbursed.
That is correct.
So the two steps prior,
Yes.
reimbursed himself $15,000.
No, that's incorrect.
And you don't want, no, it is correct.
No.
I've
Mr.
got it,
Evans?
our
Mr.
last
Evans?
fiscal officer provided that information, and even you were talking about, oh yeah, that's not right and that, but the prosecutor stated it cannot be reimbursed for the timeline prior to that because of the federal laws.
That's
And
correct.
you don't want to look into it.
No, I do want to look into it.
Then why wouldn't you authorize it?
But because it is.
Because you want to delay it again?
No, because it,
Delay for
first of
delay's
all,
sake.
our administrator doesn't have that opinion yet. So I want her to get that. That'll be the second tranche of these things.
If she doesn't
But
need it, then
you've-
she doesn't
you've-
use it.
You've loaded this whole thing up, and we have to prioritize. So you can make all the accusations you want.
I don't care if there's 200, you authorize and let
Well-
her deal with what needs to be done.
Well,
This is why nothing gets done here.
roll call on the amendment.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Now, let's have a roll call on the amended list of things that'll go, and it's a long list, there's a lot. Doesn't mean some of these won't be revisited, Mr. Evans.
Delays.
No, part of the problem we've had in the past, and it even came back from the prosecutor.
These have
is
been
we continue
before
to load them up.
the
Well,
administrator was even hired that you refused to deal with as president because you were the sole contact. Again, delay. People are getting hurt.
Broken record by Mr. Evans. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
No.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And Ms. Betzel, I'll get with you with the ones that, because it is a long list, and we'll go from there.
And so much for working together.
Well, Mr. Evans, you don't always get your way. It's called 2 votes. And
You've been delaying this stuff.
You
I'll
have-
print off all the emails when I've asked you since all last year to deal with these issues, and you
Mr.
either ignored it or lied.
Mr. Evans,
Skinell, you lied about it.
first of all, Mr. Evans, you don't delegate work to the other trustees. You're not in charge of telling us what we ought to be doing. We can have a civil conversation here, but you like to overload
Okay.
the staff and everyone else. You like to give assignments, but you fail to
No,
do the
let's,
work.
okay, we'll get to I and J about more mismanagement.
Okay, well, go ahead and make your motion.
Motion, well, this is about discussion on the lighting district. Again, we have no master calendar, which I've been pushing for years, ignored. The assessments for lighting districts were not submitted to the auditor. Why? Did you know that they weren't submitted?
There hasn't been any follow-up on those because that information, our administrative assistant has never been given any very little guidance on what needs to be done on that. Do you know about it?
This is the whole, yes, I know
That's
that you have
why
to
you
submit
should
that
help the administrator,
semi-annually.
Mark.
And I've tried to get the procedure manual done. Can't work with staff on that. Mr. Burkholders oversees the staff and tells them not to do stuff and not to, and even like the diligent
out of order.
implementation.
He's out of order.
Won't let us finish implementing it. So yes,
Order, Mr.
just like the inventory, which we'll get to next, you guys had no clue, just like the Turk had
Point
no
of
clue
order.
that there were multiple appointments.
Mr.
No,
Evans,
this
point
is
of order.
total mismanagement. And
Well,
again,
that's your comment.
the lighting district, and even lighting districts, they're only good for 10 years. When is that up? We don't know because we're just, again, I've seen roadside bait stations run with more efficiency and better than this township under the leadership of Ms. McKee and Mr. Burkholder over the last 3 years.
That's your common political
No,
speech.
but you missed it. You didn't know. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Evans-
And they're only good for
I
10
would like
years,
to
so
say
when is
something.
that
I
up?
would like to say something.
Do you know?
No, because we have no records. The last time it was dealt with was, I think, 2011.
That's not
in the
true.
minutes, because I was the one that made them searchable, and we can search for it.
Oh, yeah, it's always you.
No, it is.
Well, then I
What have
Evans,
you done,
Mr.
Evans,
What are you? Who are you calling back?
if you know this
No one.
stuff, why don't you come in and work with Holly?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, why don't you, I mean, stop doing the got you
I
moments and
have-
try to make the board look
Mr.
bad, or-
Burkholder is
why don't
over
you
all
come-
the staff, and he directs
No.
the staff, and
No.
a little bit by
No.
Ms. Betzel.
No.
But
Remember,
anytime I
no.
ask for anything,
Mr.
even anything on the agenda,
Mr. Evans,
it's not done.
we are a
Well,
board.
let
We
me,
are
let
not-
me, go ahead, Ms.
I mean, all I'm
McKee.
saying, we have to work together, okay? And it seems as if you constantly going after us like a got you moment instead of helping.
Because
I
you've
mean,
excluded me.
no, we're not. We've
Well,
never excluded you.
Your
Mr. Evans, you
statement
exclude
to our
yourself.
current administrator was almost laughable because the prior administrator
No.
refused, and your prior consultant refused to work with me at
Okay,
all.
let me
This
just-
is a circus.
Let me clarify something. First of all, Susan Bensel is our township administrator.
So sad.
And as the president of the board, I work with our administrator. And our administrator didn't have to, but I give her a lot of credit. She wanted to explain the current situation that we're in here at the township. That takes a lot of courage. But all three of us trustees are supposed to be working with the administrator to assist and prioritize. There are more things here. There are a lot of things that, yes, we didn't have a clear path on the lighting districts. I'm familiar with the lighting districts. We got 4 or 5 of them. Some of them, we pay it and then we bill the HOA. We do have some records on that. I'm vaguely familiar with them. It's going to take a deep dive into that. What's the best process? Do we need to make some changes? I would prefer that they bill the HOAs directly. I'm not contesting anything, Mr. Evans. I don't know if it's a 10-year light. I don't know. Townships can have lighting districts, so can villages.
These are 20 or 10.
It's another thing we need to research. My request to Mr. Evans is come into the office, work on it, look at the records we have, and let's provide the support and assistance
Yes.
that our township administrator
Yes.
and our administrative assistant and our zoning inspector and the help that they need. It's got to be a team effort.
Yes.
Now, if you have more people, then we can focus more on the policy. We do need a professional planner. I know Mr. Evans disagrees with me. It's all
314 days.
my fault and
It is.
everything. But you know what? We don't get any further ahead by relitigating the past, which happens to be the only thing he cares about.
No, because you
So-
continue this
I-
over, in the procedure
I-
manual,
Yeah.
I attempted
I
and
know.
you refused when we had the prior secretary here, supposedly training the new secretary that didn't provide
I know,
stuff.
I know.
That didn't provide passwords, that didn't,
Now he's
this
going
is
after
all
Laura
under
Brown.
the
That
only
was
thing
here for 20
truthful you
years.
said tonight, it's your fault.
Mr. Burkholder.
This has been 2 to 3 years of files being hidden. We still don't get bank account statements from the fiscal officer.
Okay, hold it. Let me say one thing. Mr. Evans, there's one common denominator here, And for the past 3 years,
No,
you have done
fire
nothing.
district had no problem because
You
they
have
didn't do
nothing-
these shenanigans.
You have done nothing but create
No, it's called
chaos.
accountability.
Well, that's what you like to
Do
campaign
you know how many
on.
people call me saying you don't call them back?
I don't know.
Did you call these individuals back?
How
You did not. That's why they're here tonight.
Mr. Evans, your erratic behavior is out of order.
No, I'm upset for them.
Now you have inventory.
I am upset for them.
What do you want to?
You should be.
I'm not going to lose my.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Well, actions.
Yeah, inventory again, ORC requires that,
Yes.
it was a 309, 09,
Mr.
that
Attorney.
by the second Monday of January, it be filed.
And it was.
By the Board of Trustees, it has to come before us.
Okay, so.
Now, it was attempted to, the fiscal officer was gonna file it with herself, but even the draft of the inventory isn't correct. There's no oversight, there's no review. All that extra equipment in the township garage, not on there for the pressure washer system. All those cameras for the bridges, not on there. The desks in the 2 offices that you won't give the zoning department a proper workstation, but the fiscal officer in the other room, yes, new desks, they're not on there. Over and over and over, it's not updated and it's not proper, and I'm sure I am the only one that reviewed it. So we violated ORC. You refused to have it on the January 7th agenda. I was shocked when you added these 2 items on here. I think the public pressure is getting to you, but you refused to even allow discussion on the inventory on the 7th. These are serious matters that continue to roll forward, and you say, don't talk about the past, but you keep doing the same thing, and people's lives are impacted. Again, you did not call these individuals back, and that's why they had to show up here. Nobody should have to show up here. Just do your
Are you
job.
talking about Scott?
Yes.
I did call him back. We had a conversation, sir, did we not, on the phone? Yes, we did. So there, Mr.
What was it when you should have called back?
No, I did call him back because Lance was working with him and I called
Really?
him because I followed it. Yes, he
All
just
right.
said so.
No.
So, Mr. Evans, there you go. Okay,
I don't think so.
resolution 2024, well, you never believe anything.
I've
so
got the proof.
Fine. 2024-002 to approve purchase orders is so moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, and my discussion is, why is there $30,000 for consultants, $20,000 for attorneys, when we haven't approved anything? And the policy before, I was told by you, Mr. Burkholder, is we don't approve purchase orders until we actually approve that item. So
Approve what item?
any item. When I
Well,
was asking for a purchase order for proper workstations for the zoning office, he said, no, we don't approve purchase orders
Well-
until the item is decided. Now, all these are put on here,
Well,
and
now-
we're not deciding any item.
Well, would you let me finish? I asked the same question, Mr. Evans, to the fiscal officer. I'll let her explain. We're still trying to, and I've talked to the administrator about this, there's still some question regarding, can you keep purchase orders open from the previous year? And I don't know that we've gotten a definitive answer on that or create new. I don't think we should approve them until, because we still have some open for some of these items from the previous year. So I'll let the fiscal officer, if you want to respond to what your thoughts
Well, I
are on
was
that.
going to open these from the previous year and close out, open these for this year and close out the previous year to make the board happy.
Okay.
Well, isn't it, I actually checked, and I know the auditor states that blankets or super blankets do not transfer to the new
Correct.
fiscal year. However, regular purchase orders do.
Correct.
So why are we, if we don't need to do it? I mean, I actually did the due diligence and checked on that. So that's my concern. Are we adding to the purchase order?
No,
And we've already used it, so it's technically adding to it, right?
we're taking 2024 off and putting 2025 on as an expiration. So I will close out 2024 purchase orders and open 2025 purchase orders.
but those have been used, so we don't have that full amount. I know we still have to approve it.
Well, you are correct.
I'm just
Some of-
asking what we're doing.
No, Mr. Evans, you and I actually agree on this, because I had the same question. But rather than be accusatory, I asked the fiscal so that we can work through this and get this right. Because we have several, MKSK, Bricker Graydon, some of these other ones on here. And you are correct, some of the money on those original purchase orders was used. So if we don't feel comfortable with the way this is doing, you want to see the other ones closed, and at the very next meeting, let's work as a team to make sure we find out how much was left over, and then have some kind of idea, as we have in the past, what do we think, like we did with our labor attorney. We had a nice amount on there. A lot of that still remains from the 2024 because we didn't do an update to the manual. Now, we do have negotiations coming up with the union this year, so, but I had the same questions on these, so what's the pleasure of the board? Ms. McKee, do you have thoughts on this?
I mean, Jackie, does it make any difference to you if you use the prior year's standard PO or closing it out and going to this?
No.
So you want to close it out?
Is one easier than the other?
At this point, it'd be easier to close out last year and leave these on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Fine.
Yep. Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay.
Ratify payment of bills?
Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second? I'll second that. Any questions?
Yes, I do not think it's appropriate to combine numerous items and just say various, even if it's for payroll. They should be individually listed as part of our proper oversight. And just putting 17,000, 19,000, especially with the prior payroll issue, they need to be individually listed.
Well, that's fine, but I don't think it's proper to put it on Facebook either, Mr.
I'm not the
Evans.
one that put it on
Or
Facebook.
diligent.
It was on the fiscal officer's Facebook page.
Or diligent. I don't think it should be
It's
part of
public,
the.
number one, it's public record.
It is
Our
pub-
salaries are public.
It is public record, but I don't have anyone, have a problem with anyone
Well,
requesting that. But I can tell you, employees were not happy. I talked to employees and they were not
Again,
happy.
I didn't do it. That was on the fiscal
Well,
officer's Facebook group.
So, any further discussion on payment of the bills?
Do we have the various listed out that could be provided before we vote? Because I'm not comfortable voting on just combined things.
Let's continue.
I can get that for you, yes.
Very good. Do you have any transfers?
No, but I do have a proposal from Werewolf about the investigation for the bank recs, the bank statement stuff.
I've not seen that.
No,
Has that been requested or?
no, but it's in my report.
Okay.
And shouldn't the investigator be handling, or the administrator be handling this? And again, Ms. Varian stated to Mr. Burkholder that she accessed it.
Well, I'm gonna be clear, administrators should not have anything to do with this investigation.
Well,
It's
we're not-
because
Oh, I think so.
nothing.
And I would be very
Nothing.
leery about Werewolf
She
because
should
they're the
not have
ones
anything to do with this.
that left out that next text line. I mean, they were clearly biased and
Well, we're not making any decision on that. I'm working with the administrator on it. I did not request this, and so,
Mr. Burkholder,
It's
we
been
cannot,
provided.
you cannot work with the administrator on this because she reports to the board. And it
That's
sounds
right.
like this, Mrs. Jackie is her own entity and she's got a complaint against us as a board. and you're going to your administrator to ask her to do this? No, that's out of order. That's,
She doesn't have a complaint against the board,
well, she has a complaint to her boss, which is Mr. Evans.
her boss.
Well, she reports.
No, let me explain
No,
something.
she reports to the board. And she would not be, she should not have anything to
Ms.
do with this.
Coutinho is her own separate office, but if
Correct.
there's any investigation, it should be into the lies about the employees not being paid.
Well,
That was the entire issue, which required.
Let me tell you something, the keeper, the fiscal officer,
That's all.
the fiscal officer is the chief fiscal officer for the township. But we, the trustees, have oversight. And we are responsible for the funds, we have a fiduciary responsibility. And if there was unauthorized access, it's within our purview. Nothing, all we're doing is collecting information at this point. And so.
Well,
but
Ms.
anyway.
Marion told you she did. I was 2 hours away and I provided that. It seems like you want to just extend this for political purposes. But if you, as you say, we have a duty to oversee, why aren't we provided the bank statements?
You did get those, didn't you, Mr. Evans?
I had to go to the bank and they
I
were
agree.
shocked the fiscal officer wouldn't
Mr.
provide
Evans,
it. But we
you-
still haven't gotten the star accounts and I haven't gotten December.
I
So
haven't gotten December yet.
why would a
I've
fiscal
tried.
officer withhold bank statements? I was in accounting, that's a huge red flag.
Mr. Evans, they should be provided to the board, so I concur with you on that. Those are the kinds of things that we as a board should be looking at.
Looking at, how about just the fiscal officer provide it?
Well, that's what I mean, you have to have it, so you
So
can look
this-
at it.
And I've asked numerous, even as a public records request, and she refused.
Okay. Any transfers, bring those other, if you want to get those, we'll go to public comments as far as that listing.
I have the 19,000 right here.
So at this time, and we can come back to that, is there anyone that'd like to speak? 2 minutes, please. Come and state your name and address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Hello, Rachel Zelazny, 10141 Tollgate Road, Southwest. Susan, it is nice to see you tonight, and I'm sorry to hear about that. I just want to know if we have any update on the comprehensive plan. I know a couple, maybe 2 meetings ago, it was brought up that you guys were going to send out a letter to whoever, Jim Lanier, is it Jim?
Jim Leonard.
Jim Leonard.
I was just seeing if we have any update on that and what the process is going forward with that. I also appreciate you guys going ahead and filling the BZA position with Ryan. So that way we can go ahead and get everything going this week. But that's all.
Has a letter been sent?
Well, I'll defer to the administrator. I know you had conversations with Mr. Evans, and he provided some information, so do you have anything new to report?
I mean, there has been communication with Mr. Leonard. What we have not received is follow-up on that. So if you recall, one of the items on the prosecutor's list was looking at the breach of contract. If that is the route we have to go. If that is in fact the route we have to go, then I will, in all likelihood, return with a proposal that says let's just move it to another entity to finish it up, because we have to finish it. And so, you know, if he's not going to do it, and plus I'm a little concerned perhaps with what that quality might be like, since we're having to push and push and push and push. And so that's the route that we're going.
Can I ask what communication there was? Was there a letter sent to him, or?
I think it was a phone call.
So just voice message left and he hasn't?
No, I talked to him probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Let's have some clarification. First of all, Mr. Evans, when you brought that up, I said, what's your solution? You said, well, we got to do this. And you did forward some information from a long time ago when Next Planning wanted to do it, and I've said that if we can't get the result, then we need to go to another firm so we can get finalization. I did talk, well, actually I had a call from Mr. Leonard, and he said yes. And he was supposed to have some correspondence back to us. I said, did you get Mr. Evans's changes that you wanted? Apparently he did. And then we didn't hear anything back, which is a disappointment. But contact was made, and he seemed to say, I said, this has to get done. We have to make sure, particularly for our administrator, that she has the most current corrected draft. And I didn't hear anything back,
So on that as well, if you do end up going to another firm, are we starting the process over with all the information that has been updated? Or are we making sure that, because I know even when going to the zoning commission, right? And all of them made great suggestions. They passed things like, we want this, this, and this changed, and then it comes to you guys and none of it was changed. And so it's just, I don't know. Are you guys going to be looking at it from each stage point and all the suggestions to make sure that they did actually go? For example, one of them was a new road right through my living room. And the zoning commission was like, there shouldn't be a road there deterring people from 40 with semis through residential, which was my whole argument.
Right.
And that was one of the recommendations, and that was never removed, and then it was put here and then on display. So I'm just curious that if we are going to get a new firm, what does that look like and entail, and how are we moving forward with the suggestions that were made if we don't have any record upkeep of what was made? If that we would have the comments from the zoning commission, which should be incorporated. Let me add it, and then the other comments that were made by Mr. Evans, which I believe were sent via email to Mr. Leonard, they were.
Well, no, but I'd like to speak a little bit on this because I've been pushing for this to be handled properly for quite a while. But Mr. Leonard was supposed to retain the Zoom meeting for each one, did not. You can't go back and see what they did. We had a member actually removed by the prior other two trustees, Ms. McKee included, that brought up those concerns. Of what I know from the process, I'm not confident in it. I would push, a regular comp plan should be 6 to 8 months. I would move with Next Planning, if they could do it, to look at it, review it, provide what they think additionally they should do. Maybe they could add on to with the information we know. But we need to get this moving because that was June 28th of last year. And
well, there's been a lot in the community that's happened since then.
Well, no, but there's also been, Mr. Leonard did send back the corrected version, but it was the same files as back in February or April, I believe it was. So there were no corrections. And what I'm upset about is delay.
Okay.
Well,
and then sorry for my time, but
no,
I have one more question.
Let me add one more thing though, that clarification, and it's easy to complain, well, what about this, what about that, why isn't it getting done? And I'm not criticizing what has or hasn't been done in the past.
Okay.
But for example, with Mr. Schultz, we went back and we had our emergency intern go back to 2015 to see if all the text and map amendments had been, one, sent over to the county, two, they have to be recorded at the recorder's office, and three, they have to be updated in the zoning code book, or as we call it, the zoning resolution, and they also have to be updated on the map. Mr. Schultz and I were in the process of verifying that those, particularly the map changes, were those recorded on our map, because that map also goes to the county. People pull it up there and it's erroneous information. We didn't get through all that. Now Mr. Schultz is gone. So that process has stopped. But that's another important part of the comprehensive land use plan that was not done in the 2.5 years we've had, which I brought up at the steering committee, is we've got to update the zoning map in the context of the discussion. So but I want that to be added too. That's another thing left undone here at the township that has to be updated and should be part of the comprehensive plan update.
Yeah, and then my I kind of two questions, I guess. I'm sorry for going over. But they are zoning related. I saw that you posted a position. Love it. Thank you. Do we have a timeline or an expectancy of when we're going to get somebody in?
Well, it closes on Sunday,
Okay.
so I put it out for 2 weeks because with the holidays, people
Right.
sometimes aren't paying attention. Although apparently that was not an issue this time, the first week. We've got close to 40 applications already.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so now some people work at White Castle, but there's a
That's
lot
fair.
that don't. So,
The quality that a lot of people just apply to anything.
yeah, we got our first application within 12 minutes of posting it.
But it
12
wasn't
minutes.
qualified.
And like,
wasn't me.
literally, I would have to just be sitting there.
Of the 40, how many are qualified?
Probably about a third. Now, when you say qualified,
Experience.
that's not how I
Zoning
grid
experience.
people. I grid people by, do you meet the minimum qualifications? Do you meet the preferred qualifications? Because normally, in order to make the interview process, depending on, again, how many people we have and what their qualifications are, I look for people who meet both the mins and the preferreds. Those are gonna be your best candidates, of course.
Okay.
And so I grid those at the top. They get the most points, if you will. And then the next are they meet just mins or mins and some preferreds or whatever. And so I would say probably I don't know, I'm trying to do the math in my head, sorry. Out of 40, probably 10 to 12 of them so far, which is a lot of candidates already, honestly, that meet both of those qualifications. I go through grid them once, then I go back through them again, just because, especially when there's so many.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm just asking because I know like with the BZA, we don't have anything in the pipeline probably until March.
Right.
But I don't know if we would need to come and ask if we could hire a consultant for our group if needed, if we don't have somebody in that time. So that was just my question of us looking forward.
Very good.
But that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, I'm Danny Waddle, 11045 National Road. My property has been pretty affected by the Scannell wall. As you might have noticed, I've been doing quite a bit of earthwork there. I've been complaining for about 3 years from them. Finally, they decided to, hey, go ahead and take care of it. We'll pay you to do it. They didn't have another contractor out here. Now, my construction background, I kind of figured I could help the residents on Lynn. There's a lot of flooding there on between the Davis and the next property up north there, or to the south. Anyhow, what they had done was they buried the outlet to a drain line that ran up there to Lynn. I discovered that on my property, notified them, and I was able to connect a line to the one that goes diagonally across my property to their retainage pond. Since I've done that, they haven't had any issues. So they wanted me to relay that to you. That
Who wanted you to relay that?
Rob from Scannell and Dan Harrington.
Really? Right.
Yeah.
Right, but that wasn't actually authorized by the county. I know you did it.
You're right.
You and I talked, you got us the plan. We followed up with Licking County planning on that.
Right.
Apparently there wasn't a problem with that.
Okay, I'm glad to hear. I didn't know,
Yeah.
I've been in contact with their civil engineer. I kind of know what to do, but my main concern was, because those residents I'm talking about, they're of our elderly community, kind of hard for them to do anything on their own. And that, I did post a couple of pictures on Facebook, that was bad. I mean, just a half an acre just totally underwater.
But is that still the condition?
What's that?
Is that still the condition?
No, it's not. So
Right.
once they ran that new line, it's taken care
Yeah,
of.
well, one of the problems was too that the ditch line under there, the Campbell ditch, which is actually an underground drainage thing,
Okay.
was never connected by Scanel, and they had to do an extensive thing around the building, and that's what the Licking County, both the Licking County engineer and the Licking County Planning Commission discovered that during this long ongoing inquiry into how they complied with and what haven't they complied with. Just within the last 2 weeks, I talked to Licking County Planning again. There's still some issues that appear to be landscaping issues that they have not complied with and apparently don't want to comply with. So we want to get additional documentation from Licking County Planning Department on what still is outstanding there. The main thing too, again, and we talked about a lot, but for clarification, there are the subdivision regulations, and then there's the zoning regulations, and of course the county takes care of the subdivision regulations. So the wall, the lighting, the noise, are they in compliance with the zoning? One thing that, and it's been a long journey, but is getting the as-built from them so that we can compare those with what the original plan said they were going to do. So that's another
The
one.
county has the as-bills, right?
They do now. They didn't have them.
So when are we gonna enforce our zoning that you said was in progress that wasn't?
Well, that's the other thing that we're verifying is once you get the as-bills, what did they comply with and what didn't they comply with? So I know you like to politicize it, Mr. Evans,
You told the board that it was in progress and it wasn't. The review, that's why we hired outside counsel. That's
yes,
why we hired
and
the
outside
consultants.
counsel suggested we do a survey, and you voted against that vote, Mr. Evans. Now, that's the record. So we'll have to.
Now
do
you're saying we're
another one.
waiting for the as-bills. It's
No, we
excuse
got
after
the, what's
excuse.
your address? I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
That's actually what they actually built. It's verification from what they said they were going to build and what they actually built. And then you compare to make sure that they're in compliance with what their preliminary and final development plan were.
Do you see your house?
Can you say that again? Your address?
11045.
Okay,
It's
thank
the
you.
house and the building right next to the wall.
Right.
Yes, okay, okay,
And
thank
he
you.
provided the zoning department some information
Yeah.
on what he had done as well as
Okay.
some photos and
Right.
Okay,
information, so we appreciate that.
thank
I
you.
would like to know, who is in charge of the shrubbery that runs down along that wall?
Well, that's the other issue. I walked that as well, and that's part of the landscaping thing, and so I know it hasn't been very well maintained. and I-
Personally, to me, I'd like to take it out, let the grass grow all the way up to it,
Right.
and I'll mow it. You know?
I've seen it where it goes down by you. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't cut that grass for 3 years.
Right.
They did ask me to relay Scanel that they have taken control of manhole number 10, whatever that means, over their own toll gate. So apparently there's been problems, and they've been in contact with CJ from the county. So that was just something I was asked to
When you say
relay.
CJ, you mean from the water and sewer district?
Oh, yeah, right, from the water and sewer.
And have they sent anything in correspondence, or is it
No,
just
he
verbal?
just asked me to relay that they're taking it over. So whatever that means.
Okay, we'll check with CJ, but thanks for that insight.
So, also, if anybody lives on the land and needs some help, I've got an excavator, Bobcat, I'm willing to help, whatever. I don't know all the issues down through there, but I know a couple.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, thank you much.
Anyone else?
I just like to say about that manhole, we're not getting any reports, any information from our appointee, Mr. Stepp. He refuses to, and that's another issue. But you didn't want to deal with that on the resolution.
Well, Mr. Evans, I think we've...
Residents shouldn't have to.
Well, Mr. Evans, I know you like to sue everybody and create more lawsuits.
You're the one that wanted the BZA suit, so stop it. And then didn't get the attorney to represent the BZA, contrary to our attorney insisting you do it.
Well, we have some individuals here in the audience that have probably have a different...
Well, yeah, it's not the truth.
Count. Well,
Let's release that email.
Let's go on to public comments. 2 minutes. Oh, you ready?
I gave you guys the paper.
Very good.
Yep.
Any questions?
Now, can we ratify payments?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll move to ratify payments
Well, it
as
was
shown.
already a motion and a second, so any further discussion?
Who was it motioned by?
I think I made it. Did you second it, Ms. McKee? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Okay, let's, okay, announcement and
Well, you
trustee
want more
I
comments.
have
public
something else
comments?
to say.
Is there anyone else?
The fiscal officer speaking, Mr. Burke.
Go ahead.
The W-2s and the 1099s have all been sent,
Good.
so they're out, so be prepared.
Thank you, Jackie.
That's all.
Very good. Announcement and trustee comments?
Yeah, I'd just like to state a couple things about the comprehensive plan. June 28th last year, we had a presentation here for 2 months prior. I warned the board, including Mr. Burkholder, who was dealing with this consultant, that the future land use plan map was wrong. It was our 2014 zoning map. He ignored it. Proudly had staff put it up around the room, didn't even realize it was wrong. Those are the kind of issues we've been dealing with for 6 months or more, that there's a lack of management, of dealing with vendors, and I get that all the time. Even vendors are very frustrated in dealing with Mr. Burkholder. Then regarding the, again, the Hillview clinic issue and the zoning, I only became aware of it on January 2nd. And as soon as I did, I made contact and tried to get information, tried to get it resolved. And apparently Lance Schultz was dealing with it for a month and a half. And even our administrator didn't understand didn't know why he wasn't able to complete it or get anything done there. And just like with the zoning maps, I've been pushing that for 3 years. I came in about all the misinformation on zoning, maps not being correct. I got excuses, well, it was COVID. Well, you should have more time than anything with everybody working from home and that to ensure that's right. For 3 years, I've been pushing for stuff to get done properly and nothing but pushback. And again, you say work together. I have zero duties. You even took me off the fire board when you said yourself, all the compliments of working hard and that. So you're the one that's being political about stuff. You're the one being hateful. You're the one being childish and all this stuff. And you can't get done anything. Even the Turk, you didn't even know that there were 2 members for each board. It's almost like you weren't a trustee before.
No, that's not true.
And
I did know.
And like Mr. Caldwell, I've been in contact with him and his daughter countless times. I've been over there to hear the refrigerated trucks, to see the light issues, and nothing's done. You don't even have the contact information. I've had it right here time and time again, and nothing's done while people suffer. People are suffering on Lynn's Road. People are suffering still with the storage over there and the Blue Monkey, and it's got to stop. People shouldn't have to come in here on their time off and say, please, you're financially impacting us or my quality of life, and hear about staff. We hired more consultants, you didn't use them. We approved on February 20th to post the zoning inspector and the planner position. It took you till the end of April to even post on our website the zoning inspector. You delayed 2 months. Didn't even have Indeed. I had to take that over. But the planner, nothing. But it was so important of a position, but you refused to post it on your own. And then you want to complain when we don't extend it, ensuring that it's actually going to be posted this time. This is all on your shoulders. You're playing administrator and failing deeply. And people's lives are being affected. People can't sleep at night because of it, and there's nothing you'll do. and telling me to come in here. Documents were hidden before. Ms. McKee was locking offices, hiding documents,
Mark, that's
all
a
that.
lie.
And even you, Mr. Burkholder,
Stop.
try not to provide access. But the shocking thing tonight is you don't know where our township lockbox keys are, or even who has them. That is unbelievable. And you want to blame me when I have zero authority, zero duties. You two have been doing whatever you want, and we have all these issues. It's not on my shoulders, it is on yours. And I hear time and time again, Mr. Burkholder doesn't return our calls. Mr. Burton, I haven't heard back from him. I haven't heard from vendors, even our own attorney was looking forward to dealing with an administrator because at least he'd get a return call on issues. It needs to stop. Unfortunately, I think it's going to take an election. But hopefully this public pressure, and this isn't all the people. More were going to come here tonight, but for the cold, that their life has been impacted, that are very upset about what's not happening. So stop, please, making excuses about staff. So much can be handled. It's frustrating, and I get upset for these people because I care about these people. That's it.
Did you come in and work on updating the map at all, the zoning map, Mr. Evans? Did you?
I have done countless hours of work in my home office.
No,
And number one,
I'm not-
I stayed away from here when I got charged at over that secretary's desk by the zoning inspector, and I get threatened in there by Miss McKee shoving her middle finger in my face. There are issues, and then now I've got a protective order hearing tomorrow on the fiscal officer's live-in boyfriend because of his threats. It's ridiculous, and we don't have, number one, working stations for our staff. So what am I going to kick them out of something? Or I have a wonderful setup at home that I can do all kinds of work, and I do when I'm allowed. And I did it for the fire department too until you removed me, and that was highly centered around the insurance issues. I know it front and back, but I'm blocked from anything. Our website still isn't correct. I actually had to go in there before I was told not to do it, of saying you can't rely on our zoning below. That's embarrassing. And you don't want to correct it.
No.
You've had a year. You know how much I could have gotten done in a year? Look at the 3.5 months of my agenda that Miss McKee and Mr. Johnson just wouldn't even read the meeting packet material. This is on your shoulder times 5 or 10.
Well, okay, Ms. McKee, do you have anything you'd like to say tonight?
Well, I know that somebody sent me some pictures of the office that you took pictures of in here, Mr. Evans, and posted recently. That's those are old pictures. I know Mrs. Betzel got new furniture in her office, and I know our college intern is no longer with us, so those are older pictures you posted recently on Facebook.
That was after you denied proper workstations for
Mr.
that.
Evans?
They work at a 4-foot folding table, an
No.
$80 an hour consultant.
It's not a
How
4-foot.
efficient do you
It's
think
not a
he was?
4-foot table, and let me just say something, Mr. Evans. When you take the back of an employee without their knowledge, and you post that on Facebook to make some kind of point, that's very inappropriate. That's very inappropriate to take the backside of an employee working at a fine table and you posted it on Facebook.
And you cannot
Let me
identify
just
at a folding
let me
table.
just say one thing.
That's
I vehemently
embarrassing.
disagree. You claim that I don't care about the residents and the people who've come in here tonight. I do.
You don't.
I'm glad you came in and complained. I agree. I knew about that situation down there. Our former zoning inspector went down there. There's all kinds of violations out here, and they definitely need to be enforced. But to sit there and say we don't care, and yet you claim, you complain about everything, and then you ask, well, did you come in? Did you help? Did you work with staff? Did you point it out? It's always a constant argument. And all you do is weaponize it on Facebook. People have left this employee because of you,
Oh,
Mr.
that,
Evans.
no, they didn't leave until you came in. They thought there was gonna be accountability, and they could have stayed because there was the secretary left without providing passwords. A couple passwords, not all of them, didn't even properly train the incoming secretary.
Well, all I've got to say is, when are you gonna get over it and move on?
Until these people are treated properly, never. And that's why I'm running for re-election, to hold people accountable up here. Why do you think I was on a job 2 hours away, stopped my job to ensure our employees got paid when the fiscal officer lied to our administrator and employees that the bank caused the issue when it wasn't the bank's issue?
Well, how'd you find out about the issue?
As I've told you before, that the bank employees told me, because they were shocked that it would have been a bank error, because it doesn't happen with the ACH things. And I've told you, just like when you met with the individual with the grant reimbursement, you have to ask him to send you the stuff again that you were sent numerous times. It's an embarrassment. People see it. They might not say it to your face, but they say it to me and everybody else.
Wow.
That's why these people are here. They're speaking up. They're tired of it. They deserve action. The excuses, again, properly staffed in the zoning office for 314 days. You refuse to post that position.
No,
Why?
that's not true.
It is true. On February 20th, 2024, we approved those two positions to be posted. You delayed the zoning inspector for 2 months, but when he resigned that first day, he should have been fired for going over that desk and other stuff. He left that office a mess. But you even delayed from January 3rd to February 20th for a position that is standard and needed. Delay, and you don't return calls, and you don't, it's constant, Mr. Burkholder, and that's what's frustrating. Not even your
Okay.
flips on your positions and your
Okay.
promises.
You can continue.
It's mismanagement.
Well, you can call it whatever you want, but.
It's not action.
Well, your behavior is.
No, I pissed off from
Your behavior is
Mr.
reprehensible.
Mr. Caldwell.
The way
You
you
said
treat
you're
people.
glad he came in to complain. Why should he had to
Do you
come
have
in when
anything?
you knew about it?
Anything else? Do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. McKee. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
And I apologize, everybody, for things not being done. I've tried for 3 years.
You're out of order, Mr. Evans.
No, the meeting's over. I can speak as much as I want. I know you want to shut me down. These people deserve better.
It's the same message every time.
I apologize.
Okay, let me get
Smirk and smear when people are suffering.
It's gonna take me a hot minute to do.
Your behavior is
No,
You don't even.
No, there's.
people are
5
upset.
changes.
People's lives are affected.
It's gonna take me a minute to get it done. Me? For visit, no. Oh, I appreciate it. I know, because my Starbucks in my house,